Okay, everybody, I hope the camera is straight because this is what's happening, okay? So this is the drawing. We have an elderly couple right here, and I want to tell you a little bit about what happened first, because this entire drawing I was getting phone calls the entire time. I got at least 5 butt dials from my friend. I already called her, and then our conversation was done, and then she called me, and I got so many calls, and I answered them during the drawing, but she wasn't even talking to me. And then I even got a butt dial voicemail, and then my daughter's school called me, and the drawing didn't even take that long, but for some reason I got so much interference that it was really different from any other drawing I did, because the entire time I was just getting like call after call after call. And that's why the entire section that's the drawing part, not all the drawing is included, kind of skips because I got so many phone calls. And as you notice, this is a drawing done with my left hand. That's why it looks so different stylistically. And I thought maybe that was a sign that I'm supposed to be doing it that way, because the entire time there was so much interference. I had to stop the drawing. I mean, you guys can probably tell I'm filming this on my phone, so if somebody calls me, that's it. So please don't call me when I'm doing this. My friend had no idea, but I've never gotten so many phone calls during any work of art, let alone this drawing, which doesn't even take that much time. So we have an elderly couple here. This guy is the first person I drew, and then I drew her afterwards. So they were married, and I got a few words I think could be names. So I got Scranner or Scramner or some name like this, and I got a few female names. One was Addie and one was Edith. So maybe those are both names for this woman. So this is a woman here. She's kind of has this like bluish headscarf that just covers like her hair. You know how sometimes elderly people wear those kind of like headscarves just to protect their hair from the wind? It was something like that. It wasn't for rain or anything. It was just stylistic for the time. And I think that they lived in the 40s, and that they have a daughter who's alive now, and the daughter is either in the 50s or 60s. That's her age. She's in her 50s or 60s, and I didn't do the math on that. Those are just numbers or things that came up during the drawing. And these people are both passed, like I said. So she passed away first, and as you can tell here by some of the colors, that she was very intuitive. She had a lot of information coming in and out, well, coming in of her crown chakra. So very intuitive. She could have been a medium, or she could just have been a highly sensitive person. And either way, when she passed, she was aware that there was life after death, and she wasn't like extremely fearful or anything. So she had an illness, I think, and then she just died about 10 years before he died. And he was completely grief-stricken, and that's actually how he died. And there's a few ways I could tell he died from grief. So, and what I mean died from grief, like he had a heart condition that was set off or else made worse with the grief from his wife's death, because she was the light of his life. So you could tell by her colors that she was a pretty lively person. She has these warm tones, and you know, has some color in her face, almost like I was drawing a living person. And he is just kind of this pallid green, and colored with this green, which is the heart color. And then because it's so dismal, and I could just tell his personality was coming through, it was very like miserly, not friendly. He might have been a more pleasant person during her life, but after she died, it was it. He was no longer having it. He wasn't happy. He was like Scrooge. He wasn't a happy man. You can kind of tell, oh, he doesn't have a lot of hair. It's bald, or else it's this like combed look here, where it's like just a tiny bit of hair, but mostly bald. Also, another reason why I could tell he had grief was because I was also feeling it in my heart. I've had a lot of grief this month, And so I don't really appreciate feeling more of it when I do a spirit art drawing, but I kept getting this sensation on my right side of my chest, and I was like, I don't really want to feel this right now, but okay, I understand. So he definitely was very heartbroken. Yeah, it was sad, but he couldn't deal with the loss of his wife. And so this yellow here also has to do with willpower and boundaries, and that's in the center, that's solar plexus color, but it's all around him. So I do think he kept really firm boundaries with people, and probably after she died, he just like kind of shut people out. I know it's a really beautiful color here, but that doesn't mean that he was using this type of energy in a positive way. I think he was using it in a way to protect himself from other people, because he was so heartbroken because of her death. I think that they might have been Polish or some Eastern European descent, but lived in the US. I think she died 10 years before he died, and they have a daughter who's an adult woman now, and I think the adult daughter's name is Amber Lee. I got that name that came through. So I got 3 female names: Amber Lee, Edith, and Addie. I noticed that the dad here, or the man, his name could have been George, and I did see hunting dogs. So I saw some hunting dogs running around. I'm assuming that means he was a hunter, and if he wasn't a hunter specifically, he definitely was fond of these types of dogs. Very athletic dogs. They were black and white, and they would just run around all over the place, all over the yard or the field or wherever he was, and very athletic creatures. So maybe if he wasn't a hunter himself, he was involved with dogs somehow. I suppose he could have even been a dog breeder, but that definitely came up. But I wanted to explain to you why I decided to draw with my left hand. One of my friends kind of tipped me off. They're like, Rachel, I think it's time for you to draw with your left hand. I did a channeled painting the other day, and so I did that all right-handed. I'm right-handed, so I really have to move to my left hand to like relinquish some of that control during the creation process. I really am turning to a more instinctual type of drawing with my left hand. So at the beginning of the drawing, it was very difficult to draw with my left hand, but then after I got so many freaking butt dials and voicemails that were not even meant to be sent to me, and then began drawing again every single time I got a call, I got the hang of it, and it almost seemed like I was left hand dominant. It was very strange. So I did get a lot more control of my left hand throughout the drawing. I wouldn't call myself ambidextrous or anything, but it became easier and easier as the drawing progressed, and it's a completely different type of mark making, because it's very instinctual. Like, I did not try to make this eye like this, it just kind of happened. And then these types of markings are much more primitive, but they also allow spirit to sculpt more of what it's trying to get me to say without my brain interrupting. I'm pretty happy with these marks, the way the marks turned out, and then I'm also paying more attention to the colors, like how these people were conducting themselves, because these colors have to do with their aura. Like I was saying, this is yellow, so it has to do with willpower and boundaries in the personal power center, but this is a more like a light colored, like vivacious, living, enjoying life type of color here. And then of course a lot of information going in the crown, and she has a lot more pink on her, and so that's how I know she was like a happier person. She lived a life that was much more active and amiable and pleasant than he did, but he also died because he was heartbroken that she died. And he's green, so green's a heart color. So colors are really important when it comes to spirit art, and I'm really happy how this one turned out with the marking. So if you happen to know George and Edith, if your grandparents were of Eastern European or Polish descent and they look familiar, please reach out, because then this is your drawing. Have a great night, everybody, and I'll be back with another spirit art drawing before you know it. Bye.